Hi, I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Grace.
And you're listening to our dad and your host of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Lifestyle Asset University podcast. I'm here with a wonderful friend and one of our members of Lifestyle Asset University, KimBerly Keyton. Kimberly, say hi to everybody.
Hey!
Awesome. Kimberly is joining us from Placerville, California, and she just told me it's actually where the California gold rush was. Everybody went there, right? In the mountains to find the gold there. So she just calls it gold country. That's why she lives there, I think. I think I might move there. So awesome, guys. We're going to get started. I'm going to start off, and as I have been, Shelly always, the last couple episodes, has a list of rapid fire questions, Kimberly. So you got to get ready. This is just kind of to get to know you and get warmed up. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Mountains or beach?
Oh, mountains.
All right. Urban or rural?
Rural.
Netflix or nightclub?
Netflix.
Truck or car?
Oh, truck.
All right. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Protein bar or protein shake?
Neither.
Okay. All right. Scratch them both. I'm going to tell you.
Give me something real. Nuts.
Love it. Love it. Summer or winter?
Ooh, winter.
Okay. Ooh, winter girl.
Yeah.
Steak or chicken?
Steak.
Cats or
Medium
dogs?
Rare.
Yeah, I'm with you. You
Yeah, I want a bloody.
Still let it be mooing a little bit.
Yeah. Dogs. I think that was the next one. Big dogs. Lots of them.
Hard book or Audible?
Hard book.
All right. Running.
See my shelves behind?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we got
and records. That's vinyl.
Right now, right?
It's actually a lot of vinyl.
Yeah, that is vinyl. I love
it's
it.
It's vinyl.
So some people are not seeing us on the video. Some people will be, but yeah, I like the vinyl. That's old school.
We're old school here. We're analog.
Love it.
For sure.
Love it. Running shoes or high heels?
Oh, running shoes.
Right. Gummy bears or chocolate?
Chocolate. Both. Can I have both?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sugar.
We
Yes.
want both of this next one too. Money or free time?
Oh yeah, both.
All right. Early riser or night owl?
Early.
Okay. Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Road trip or air travel?
Oh. Can I just stay home?
I know you don't stay home a lot. You're getting used to it now though, right?
I am. 6 months a year on the road on average for like the last 3.5 years. But let's see. Road trip.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. So let's roll into that.
Okay, cool.
Tell us a little bit where you are, a little bit about Kimberly. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? And then we'll take it to where you're at now.
Okay. Okay. I'll try to give you the quick story to that one because
Okay.
I hate living in one place. I love to travel. So I was born in Oklahoma. I'm a Midwest girl, lived in Nebraska, Colorado, Texas. And then I've lived in California since 98, from pretty much the south border, literally on the border of Mexico, up to where we are now in Gold Country. That's about as north, and a whole bunch of places in between. So I love to move. This is the first house we've ever owned because I like to move, and I'd like to move now. It's been about 5 years, and I'm ready to go.
You get antsy? Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so antsy, and my husband's dying. He's like, we're not moving. Yeah. So he's very, very stationary. So yeah, just kind of Midwest girl, found myself in California, and I like all different parts of the country. It's a neat place we live.
Awesome. Tell us, you've had a unique living experience, right?
The boat.
The boat. Yeah.
Is that
yeah. That's what I wanted. I was like, okay, the boat's got to come up sometime.
Oh, the boat's awesome. I only live in pretty places. That's my rule.
Yeah.
So it has to be interesting. I've lived in Santa Barbara. I've lived in Denver. I like living in cool, neat, interesting places. Lived out in Rancho Mirage. But the boat, so when I met my husband, I was actually living in Solvang, which is a very cute little Danish town in California, just outside of Santa Barbara. And my husband was living on a sailboat down in Orange County, which is the Those of you that love Orange County, God bless you. That's awesome. But it's the only way I could live in Orange County because it's just, you heard me, I'm a country girl. I'd rather be in the mountains than in the city. So the boat was the only way I could do it. And we're like on the water. And I would laugh with everybody and be like, we got the cheapest beachfront real estate. Like we're paying $300 a month to live on the water in Orange County.
In Orange County, yeah.
Life is good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But we did that. That actually, truly, honestly, Sean, is the longest place I have lived anywhere.
Really? How long did you do that for?
6 years.
No kidding.
And that's
wow.
I've never lived anywhere in my entire life that long.
Wow, that's fun. So you liked it? It was fun. Would you do it again? Would you do the boat again?
No, because I'm not a repeat kind of gal. I need new experiences. My husband would do it again. He could just live the same day every day. And I love that about him. But yeah, no, 6 years was good. I knew I could do 2, but you only have like 2 pairs of shoes and 2 pairs of pants and 4 shirts. And that's kind of it. But I actually launched my real estate business from the sailboat in Orange County after I'd gotten out of trash. Yeah.
Wow.
And did a massive career change there in 2008, like probably many people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the boat was amazing. And we used to just sail out to Catalina or up to Newport and just had a whole bunch of boat friends. Everybody lived on it. So, then the question is powerboat, sailboat. So we were ragheads. We were sailboaters. So
that's fun.
It was fun.
That's interesting. That's not something that most people do. When you say you love to travel. Yeah. I don't, I'm on a boat for about 3 hours and I get off and I feel like I'm hitting the sides of my shower. I'm like, you
get used to it.
Do you? You just it's fine, right? Okay. Well,
totally.
I got to mentally get over that. Like, okay, I got to have some solid ground here. That's
I hear you.
What are some of your favorite travel destinations? Some of the places you've been? I mean, I know that you move around a lot and loved it. Where are some of your favorite places?
Oh, I love Yellowstone. It's gorgeous. I love the redwoods. Give me, the old big trees. I've done a lot of beaches. Living in Colorado, I love going up to the mountains and exploring and hiking out there. Just a lot of really pretty, like you in Utah. I would totally live in Utah. It's gorgeous. So pretty. So pretty. There's just every place I love for its own unique characteristics. So it doesn't really matter where you put me. As long as it's got something unique, I just don't want to see the same chains over and over again. Like I want to see what's kind of special. I love going to the East Coast and I love seeing all the rivers and the bridges and these old cities that have been there for 200 years. And I think it's so cool. And then I have memories of going for one of my clients. We were looking at a project down in Belize in real estate back in the multifamily world kind of days. And so he's like, I think you should fly out there and check it out. And I'm like, okay, I'll take one for the team and go to Belize. Yeah. And that was pretty spectacular. I've just worked remotely or traveling since probably 2004. And so it doesn't really matter where I am as long as I've got a internet connection to my laptop. And I just remember I flew out a week early to kind of hang out in Belize, which is a gorgeous country. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of things about Belize, the more kind of rural parts and less populated. So I went out and I stayed on Key Calker for the first week, which is Backpackers Island. It's got like no paved roads on the island, which is great. But that was not where the project was. The project was next door on Ambergris Key. So we went over to that afterwards. But I remember sitting in a Cuban cafe on the beach with my Google Voice doing, work. And it's just, that's awesome. The life. That's the life.
Yeah. Did you guys end up buying anything there? Did you buy anything down there?
It was a development project that we were going to participate in and we were raising some capital for it. But we ended up taking a pass on it because we like to keep control of the project in the long term. Yeah. As you know, with your real estate, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about, so you were on the boat, you said that's when you started your real estate career, kind of made that shift back then. Tell us a little bit about what that looked like and what space you went into at that time.
Yeah, sure. So my background really, so I went to school and I got a degree in environmental science and in music. which is neither of which I really do right now. So music paid for school, which was awesome. But the science is really kind of more where my heart and passion lies. And I got into a career in waste management, designing all the recycling programs for cities and counties all over Southern California. And so I did that for a long, long, long time. But I got really just kind of tired with the politics of it. It's very political and really big contracts and a lot of just last minute votes that I put my heart into something. So it was a little hard. But it was good. And so then in like 2008, I got out a little bit earlier. I decided I was going to try to start a business, which I failed miserably at, but that's okay because it got me out of trash. And then that led me into real estate. So I got into real estate and I went through some training programs and I really kind of found my niche in multifamily. And so my background for the last, 2008 and on has been in multifamily real estate. And so I work with different investors. They hire me to come fix their messes because there's a lot of really good negotiators and people who like to buy stuff, but who don't necessarily like to manage it.
Yeah.
And I find my take in life is that whatever it is we do really well is just what we're going to do in any industry. So it's not like we're going to wake up and be somebody different. You're just going to try to play to your strengths. So my strength is project management. That's kind of my cup of tea. And so now what I do is I teach people how to buy apartment buildings, and I still work for investors who need some help, having someone come in and just kind of do an audit on their books or their portfolio. And I'm putting together my own small groups to go buy multifamily. So I'm actually under contract with my mom right now on a 1031 transaction in Missouri for 43 doors. And then I've got a buddy. We got it's a property under contract in St. Louis. And we've got another one we're kind of working on, but, and then as you know, this is how I got to know you. I really want to buy a motel. Like that's really the next step.
Yeah. So what led you, what got you interested in short-term rentals? Was it just the hotel aspect? Like what got you interested in this space? And when you reached out to me, close to a year ago now.
Has it been that long?
I think so.
Oh
I remember when, because I do my strategy sessions on the phone, and I had, a handful of clients. You're one of my first people that joined our group, and I think we had 15 or 20 people, right? It wasn't very many. And I remember being on the phone with you, Kimberly, and I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but we were talking and we were going through a strategy session, and I'm like, okay, Kimberly knows what she's doing, right? I've been in the game for a long time. You can tell when somebody else is like you're a full-time investor, you've been doing it. And at the end of the call, you're like, all right, Sean, I'm in, let's do it. And I about dropped my phone because I'm like, nobody ever signs up on the phone with me. So I didn't know what to do. I was like, awesome. Usually I say, think about it, sleep on it. Let's, and you said I'm in, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And it's turned into nothing but, I love you to death, and I think the world of you. And I just, I hope the world gets to know you as well, because it was so fun. But I remember that the first time I literally I think you're the first person that ever told me yes, just on the strike.
You had me at hello, Sean. You had me at
hello. Awesome.
And I don't know your wife, and I love your wife.
Oh yeah,
and she's amazing.
She's awesome. She's fun. No, it was fun, and I remember that. But I remember we looked at a deal together too, and when you say kind of your strengths as well, and you're a systems and process oriented girl, right? You dive into the details, you look at stuff. And I remember you had a deal we were looking at in Florida, that hotel and you sent me over the due diligence, the package that you just started. And I'm like, holy crap, this is like more detailed than anything I ever look at. And so it was awesome. I was like, I loved it. And so I could totally see why people hire you on that side of life to say, hey, help me like figure this out or fix it or whatever you have to do. And so just as a quick, and we'll let people know how they can get a hold of you too, on that side of life, you've got your own mentorship group and helping people in the multifamily space as well, right? That because you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. We do that. One of my bestest, dearest friends, she actually got me in. She was one of my very first people that was teaching me about multifamily way before I ever even bought a training program, because she's been in it for far longer than I have. But so we've got a coaching program and to teach people how to buy apartment buildings specifically. So
Awesome.
except I was telling you this, one of my students, I'm so jealous because she's buying a hotel, a little motel in Florida, which is awesome. I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, and people can connect with me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm super easy to find, KimBerly Keyton, Keyton, and those are both great places to
Awesome.
connect.
No website or anything that we can put in the show notes or anything. Just
I'll get you one.
Okay.
My personal website. In fact, my developer was just like asking me the other day, like, are we done? Like, it's so close.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I've been able to do all this for years without having a website, but yeah.
Right. You have some success. Now people are like, okay, Kimberly, I want to know how you're doing. You got to teach me, right? It's how we started doing this. It's like we never really had the intention of Lifestyle University turning into what it has. But when you do it and then you help people, you're like, man, this is pretty dang fun, right? It's pretty fun to help people do this. And I know you're kind of going through that right now, which is exciting.
Well, and that's what I love about you, and I love about the group, Sean, and why it wasn't, because I've bought a lot of different training over the years, and I love to, drives my husband crazy, but it's not his money, it's my money, so it's okay. I love to buy education. I just want good education. And then I also want a good network that, comes with that education. And that's why it was so easy, because I had done in one of my previous partnerships, we had done like 20 short-term rentals. And we had built that up and built it up pretty fast, but we were doing the arbitrage method. And that's what I just so was attracted to your training about, because I knew the arbitrage method, and I'm sorry if you're out there doing it, anybody listening, good for you. That's awesome, because you took action. I'm really happy that you took action, but you really got to step it up and scale to the next level and move into the ownership part, because if you're going to run a business, you need to own the asset. And that's the thing about the arbitrage method, is you don't own the asset, and you really aren't in control of your business, and you can get shut down in 24 hours.
Right.
And that's not good.
No,
that's a problem. So, and that's when I saw your ad on Facebook, and we had the call, and just listening to you and talking to you, and you let me grill you and ask you all these questions about your business and your background. And cause I'm always listening to, the person I'm talking to, they're actually coming with experience, or they just a really good salesman or saleswoman, which it's fine. But I these days, I look for that quality individual to kind of align myself with. And that was you. I mean, so it was no problem, because you're like, I've done all these, I've done all this, and I own my own lifestyle assets. And, so you're a nitty gritty, boots on the ground kind of guy. And I just, respect that tremendously about you. And you teach a system and a process that's all very methodical and structured, and it's not a get rich quick scheme. No. It's a get rich wisely over time process. And I just really respect that tremendously about you. So it was easy to say yes on the spot.
Thank you. well, hopefully you weren't disappointed afterwards. So
oh my gosh. It's been, I just wish I had more time with you right now, because, other people are coming on and starting to get your attention. And I got, doing a business, as there's seasons to everything you do. Right. And my mom's 1031 took a big chunk of that season this year. And that motel, oh my gosh. I mean, I just couldn't have done everything I did without you. And that was a deal that was brought to me not that long after I got to know you. And it was a 20-unit vacant motel just off of A1A in a really good spot in Florida. And I knew that I had the confidence to evaluate it from a real estate perspective, because as you know, so I'll share with the group, I always look at everything from a I like multiple exit strategies.
Yeah.
I'm a low risk kind of gal
Yeah.
for me. And I like to bring other investors into the project because then we can do more faster and it just makes things interesting and fun. And so I was comfortable underwriting it as an apartment building because that's how I always look at the asset. Like I'm not going to go buy an 8-room, 8-bathroom house on a lake. Like that's just not. That's not me.
Yeah.
I want to be able to rent it out and make sure there's money coming in and paying for the debt service. And so I was real comfortable with that. It was a total gut rehab. So I brought in like my expert, retired twice, head building official guy. And he kind of blew my budget out of the water, which is what I needed him to do because it was like an extra $500,000 as we were looking at. That I had not anticipated, you hadn't anticipated, but that's why we get these other people that's what they do. And he's like, I think you should have a little bit more in there. And the sellers just weren't motivated enough. I mean, in the end, they just were fine sitting on it. So that's okay. That's
okay. There's others. We'll find other ones, right? You'll
for sure.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, like you mentioned, the way that you look at the deals. And that's, I think it's amazing for people to hear that, we're all kind of following the same blueprint, running down this same path. We love this space, but our portfolios could look totally different. You're not going to buy, like you said, the 8-bedroom house with, on the lake. You're looking for, the hotels or the multifamilies that you can convert to short-term rentals, which is, I love the diversity and kind of your set of eyes on it and the direction you're going with it, because you're really underwriting it in 2 different ways, right? Long-term and short-term.
Totally.
A lot of those deals. And I think that's really cool for people to hear how you're doing that.
Well, and I do love that about the group because everybody goes after something different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really neat in your organization that, everybody that's kind of coming in and it's great about sharing those ideas and stuff. And so I don't ever mind talking to people about different ideas and brainstorming because that's how we all get better. I mean, right. I got to this point because I've had amazing mentors and people in my life like you and other individuals who have just been so generous with their experience. And so, so for me, it's all about kind of, the multiple streams of income and having different levels of risk. I'm not a high risk kind of gal. I would much rather have 6 to 12 months of reserve set aside to float out any storm and have debt service covered and taxes and insurance covered. And so I'm just very comfortable in apartment buildings. And so that's when I saw, and when we started getting into the arbitrage method with the Airbnbs. So I learned a couple things through that because we were in Orange County, specifically in Anaheim near Disneyland. And we had some in Irvine and we had some we had a house that we did in Dana Point and some by the Los Angeles airport. And that was with one investor. And then with another one, we did some in Anchorage, Alaska and Austin, Texas. So I got to see and experience a lot of different locations. And so for me, what I saw and took away from all that was, when I'm starting to incorporate the Airbnb, the short-term rental, into a multifamily situation, we were doing much, much better from an occupancy standpoint and a nightly rate standpoint, appealing to smaller business travelers.
Okay.
Then we were appealing to a resort beach, come stay at our destination for us. And so so our beach destination had a much higher vacancy rate, as did our Anchorage, Alaska destination, which was empty all winter.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Really seasonal, right?
Very seasonal.
Were those properties that were they actually homes or were they multifamily as well? Anchorage was
in a fourplex.
Okay.
The only home we did, everything else was in a multifamily setting. The only home we did was in Dana Point. Okay. And it was one of our worst performers comparatively speaking to everything else. And we were doing like studios and 1-bedrooms. Like those worked just great.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about that is trying to figure out when you're, that every property location and property type has a different target audience, right? And you have to figure that out. There's like, okay, who's coming, why are they coming, and when are they coming? And sometimes, like you said, you kind of figured that out, that, okay, it was on the beach, it was in a great area, but the property type doesn't really appeal to the vacation traveler, maybe, right? It was, and so you were kind of figuring that part of it out, it sounds like.
Yeah. And that's when I saw what you were doing, and I saw the resources that you bring in and the tools and the techniques that, you've established, and you make just so much easier. Cause I would rather just, I'd rather ride on your coattail, Sean, than try to figure it out for myself. I am not a figure it out for myself kind of gal. I know that there's people far, far smarter than me that I would rather align myself with. And you do that. And when I started seeing the way that you look at these numbers, I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah. I want what Sean's got. It just takes a lot of the guesswork out.
Awesome. Well, I love being a small part of it, but you're giving me way more credit than I probably deserve. It made
the short-term rental side so much easier for me, and so much, it just really built so much more of that confidence. And so, I can bring the multi side into it, which is what I do. And I love that. So when I look at it from the multifamily side, it's all about it's two things for me on a multifamily situation. It's about long-term cash flow. Yeah. That's kind of my baseline, right? I want to know that it's going to at least pay for itself, and I'm going to, have the debt service and pay down that mortgage. I also like value add. So anybody in the apartment world knows value adds, where you go and, push up the revenue of the property. Usually you improve the operations of it, and then you sell it and take that equity and go do it again. And I'm really kind of actually I'm really liking this idea of stacking up a property a year, doing the cost segregation study, and then just ditching it and forgetting the 1031.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Totally. Great strategy. I'm actually kind of learning from you a little bit more about how that whole side of life works, and talking to, different people who have done that. And that's pretty exciting to be able to really maximize an asset tax wise and everything else.
Mm-hmm. It's my internet connection's unstable, so hopefully it still works. But
okay.
Okay, good. So no, I mean, it's just from that multifamily side, and then that kind of leads you into the conversation, and that's what I appreciate about you too, is that if anybody's looked at short-term rentals, they realize that there's a lot of changing and dynamic legislation out there. Yeah. And short-term rentals are great for really boosting your cash flow in a multifamily setting, but it's a little tricky on, the valuation side. You can't necessarily count it dollar for dollar in something that's zoned an apartment building. So, and that's where it just takes you down that natural evolution of like, well, maybe I'll buy a motel and I'll just run it as both, and it just only makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's, that's, so I like to look at it, in my mind, that's my conservative nature. I like to have those multiple exit strategies and kind of mix it up between long-term and short-term tenants. Cause when we were looking at that project in Florida and you were helping me with that, oh my gosh, I mean, the cash flow potential, even on the medium side, right? The 75% side was significant.
Yeah, it was big. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So
but taken, when you're buying a property like that, there are a few more moving parts. There's, you're looking at a lot of different angles, and I love that where you're coming in from that multifamily side and looking at it from kind of just like we said, that different lens with your background, and then taking and putting this spin on it. I think there's huge potential and opportunity there for sure. And you mentioned with the arbitrage model, a lot of people that listen to this podcast or have been exposed to the short-term rental game. There's a lot of talk about arbitrage, right? Because it's a no money down game and you can get in with little risk, but you just don't have the benefits of long-term ownership with real estate. And when you're buying real estate, your biggest benefits are the actual property ownership, the debt pay down and appreciation, all that stuff. You just don't get that. The arbitrage model is a cash flow model. You're essentially giving yourself a job as a management company. And nothing wrong with that, right? Some people, that's the way that they get into the space, and they get introduced to the space to see if it's something that they maybe even are a good fit for. But beyond that, then you graduate into ownership and any type of real estate. Wholesalers ultimately become flippers, and then ultimately, when you're an investor, you're going to own cash flow producing real estate. And that's what we talk about with Lifestyle University. It's what you're doing with your multifamily space, but what we're really trying to do and is to actually own these properties. So as you've gone through kind of that progression of being in the game for a long time, full-time real estate investor in the multifamily space, getting introduced to the short-term side of life, through the arbitrage, and now looking to add that hotel to the portfolio, right?
Yes.
What are some of the either aha moments or things you wish you would have done differently? Like we joked around at the front of this saying, hey, I'm going to ask you some of the mistakes you've made. And we both joked and said, oh, we've never made any mistakes, right? There's a bunch out there, but are there any that come to mind that you want to share with anybody, or just some of the aha moments in the space?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So for me, one of my aha moments is the importance of aligning yourself with people of similar mindset and integrity and philosophies. You can put deals together, in any business, in short-term rental business, or in lifestyle asset business, or in real estate and apartments. But it can be really easy to raise capital and put a project together, but aligning that project with people who are actually of a very similar mindset to you is so much more important. We've definitely, that's been some mistakes over the years, not taking the time to really filter and screen and interview enough so that there's an alignment of interests. Is an aha for sure. Taking the time to really interview your team members up front, like when you're doing third-party management. And I love that about, you and the Lifestyle Asset University is, you've introduced me to some wonderful vendors who have been incredibly helpful. And the group itself networks amongst each other, but I'm not a self-manager at all. That's not my strength. And I'm not good at making sure people are happy with like pretty little places. Like, don't ask me to decorate. I'm not going to decorate and I'm not going to care about sending a card, but I'm going to care that somebody sends a card for me. Right.
You understand the importance, you understand about how to get the right team member.
Yeah. And interviewing them up front and doing that kind of pre-screening and pre-vetting and, again, alignment of philosophies. And taking the time to do that up front to make sure all the system and infrastructure is really in place. Because it can be really easy, as hard as this may be for some people. And some people, I don't, maybe they're thinking, what's she doing? It's easy. It's actually really easy to buy. It's not that easy to buy right. And make sure you have the right people in place to help you take care of it and grow that asset. So those would be some mistakes in the past that I don't do so much now. And other people kind of get it, other people sort of look at maybe how fast or slow I move or don't move. And I've learned just to really stick to my timing and listen to, okay, here's what I need to focus my attention on right now. And I'll get back to that other one. It's just, it takes a minute to put some of this stuff together and to really
absolutely it does
line it all up and have the right vendor and be in the right place at the right time when the right deal's being sold. Right.
And it's interesting that you bring the fact of, surrounding yourself up. I hear that I can't so often from people, especially people like you who have been in the game, right? And we've been down the road a time or two and we've had some bumps in the road. How valuable it is to surround ourselves with the right people, right? I always tell people, as proud as I am of our course and our program and the blueprint that we have and all of that, the most valuable asset that we really have are the people that we surround ourselves with and the partners that we make. Not only, so we're not on an island by ourselves, so we're surrounded by like-minded people. That is so valuable, but also understanding the fact of saying, okay, some of the hardest parts of the process, or at least my least favorite, is figuring out my management company and figuring out the team members and in a new area that I might not know, because it's an interview process, right? And we have a tendency to just say, hey, I'm going to hire the first person that shows up. And I always tell people it's one of the biggest mistakes that we all make and we have made. And once you've made it a couple times, you're like, okay, I'm going to take the time and do this right. And it's not about how fast I can get it done. It's about putting it together right.
Yes. Only from the voice of experience can you say that with the gravitas that you just did.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's so interesting to hear. And I love that you shared that with people, because if you're just barely getting in the game or you're just trying to figure it out, you just don't, those are the things you don't know, right? And they're simple things. It's not the rocket science, crazy formulas or everything else that you put together. It's those are the things that make a big difference. And so I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's so important for people to hear. So that's awesome.
And I guess the other thing I'd add to that is just for people who maybe are newer to real estate or newer to lifestyle assets or newer to their business and just maybe life in general and haven't had those life experiences from a career, it's as much of a willpower game as anything.
Absolutely.
And we can sit here and we can smile and have fun because it is fun. Yeah. But there's some days that are not fun.
Right. Yeah.
And that's also where it's really helpful to have good people around you who have been there or been through experiences and come on, hang in there. It's okay. We're going to get through it. We're going to work the problem and we'll get through it. When a lender says no, you don't just stop and give up. And this group is just really positive in that respect. And, that was one of the things too. I don't just buy an education to learn, but also the network and the people in this organization that are drawn to you, Sean, because of the integrity I think you imbue and give out to the world, and the honesty and the transparency that you are, and the genuine feeling that you give that you genuinely want to help people accomplish.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, you're not just selling a program. You really work individually, one-on-one, you and your team, with all of us to say, in fact, I just got an email from Scott last week and it was so cute. He's like, hey, I'm just checking in on you. How you doing? What you need? And it means a lot.
It does. And it's because we love it, right? We're not selling you anything else. Right. And,
I don't get anything for this.
Yeah, exactly. We have fun with it, and we could talk about it all day, every day. And like you said, we can sit and joke around and have fun, and we do have fun. But I always tell people too, there's lots of bumps in the road. There's going to be ups and downs along the way. And I want to work with people who understand that, and who wants to work with somebody that's just had the easy road the whole time. I haven't, and you haven't. And, our other members who are having success, anybody with any sort of success has some bruises. They've got slapped around a little bit once in a while, but yet they work through it. Right. I always tell people, I want to work with the committed, right? I want somebody that's committed, because there's a difference between interested and committed. Right. Yeah. But that's what makes it fun too. And so, like you say, you understand that there's things that have to happen, but it can be a lot of fun, and anything, that you commit to, and you run down a road and you figure it out, and you just kind of move down that road together with other people, so that when we have those bad days, we can say, hey, Kimberly, crap, this just happened. And you're like, hey, Sean, I went through that, last week or a year ago. You're going to get over it, and vice versa. And it's a lot of fun. So I truly appreciate you. And like I said, you've been with me from almost the very beginning, and hopefully for a long time to go. And we'll get, that
for sure.
Next hotel,
I got lifetime membership.
Right.
That's what I remember.
You're right. You were baptized a long time ago. You're not getting out.
No, I don't want out.
All right. Deal. That's fun. I love it. And so anything else that you want to leave with everybody before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think, if anybody is just listening or watching, I don't know how this is getting disseminated, but just do something. And, whether you do it with Sean and our group and our little family that's becoming quite big, do something. Don't just sit and wait forever. Like, take action, move it forward. Know that you're not alone. If you choose to come and be part of our network, you better be super cool. So we only take really nice, super cool, interesting people.
Right.
If you're a whiner or complainer, just move on.
Just leave it at the door. You're not getting in.
Yeah, we don't do that here. Right. I mean, and that's really true. The whole group, everybody in there is just, it's a really good group of people who are taking action and have a lot of success in their personal lives prior to doing the lifestyle assets. So just go do something.
Yeah, I love it. That's the perfect way to end something, is just to remind us all to just do something, whether that's, whatever that is, just do something, whether it's with us or somebody else, just to always commit to move forward, learn something new and move forward. Right. And continue on that path of just making ourselves better. That's what we're here to do. And so I'm going to post your, whatever we have to in the podcast notes, like how to get a hold of you. So if people are interested in learning about multifamily space, I'm telling you guys, there's nobody better on this planet to talk to than Kimberly. And I truly do mean that from the bottom of my heart. She's just an amazing human being, and you will learn a lot regardless. And she understands what she's doing, but just the person that she is just, she lights up the room when I talk to her. I love it. And I appreciate you being in our group. You make it, that much better all the time. And so we appreciate you being here and joining us on the podcast and sharing your story for everybody to hear. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that were happy to hear it. And so I'll post that in the podcast episode, and we'll sign off for today. Tell everybody goodbye for the day. And like Kimberly said, just do something. Go take some action, even if that's subscribing to the podcast and looking for the next week's episode, right? Just keep pushing that ball down the road and kicking that ball down the road and moving forward. So we'll wrap it up today and say goodbye, and we'll see everybody back hopefully next week, same time, with another great interview on Lifestyle Asset University podcast. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. Share this with other people you think need to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey Grace, is there a website?
Yes! For more amazing content and expert advice, visit Vodacy.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.